Okay, it's a crappy morning. This we know. John, hear you there. Thanks for coming by. It is Tuesday Thoughts, and we're stacked. We are stacked, packed, and racked. And much like airports, what we are not going to have, well, I guess much unlike airports, we are not going to be in a holding pattern. We're not going to just be circling the airport. We're not going to have a ground stop. The weather's crappy, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time because we've had heavy rain here at Office HD, and the guard dog extraordinaire is hidden under the table. So if we lose power, I'm going to apologize to all of my guests ahead of time. Philip Thomas, head coach at River Ridge, joining us at 10:30. River Ridge and McIntosh on our air tomorrow. Defending champ, Blue Bloods. Be there, book 'em, Dano Aloha. 10 o'clock, Kaylor Hodges from the USL show, at the USL show, at Kaylor Hodges, talking about the month that was. We're talking Cup, and I got to ask our upcoming opening kickoff guest about a particular segment of this. So, yeah, red light, yellow light, green light, who he's looking at, how close both leagues are, League One and Championship. They're ridiculously close in standings after the first 7 or 8 matches. So we're going to get into all of that coming up at 10 o'clock. We caught up with Kaylor last night, and so we're going to run that at 10 o'clock. 9:30, our friend Kurt Badenhausen is going to be joining us from Sportico because their top 50 list came out, and I'm sure that there was a lot of angst and gnashing of teeth and wringing of hands over the rankings. We'll find out how they did it, how long it took them to get there, and 18 MLS franchises in the top 50. So we'll get into that. But as I raise my index finger to the sky, later tonight, it is Open Cup. It is the magic of the Open Cup. It is Charlotte and Atlanta United. It is going to be on Star 94 for Atlanta United fans. So it'll be a little bit of an opening. I think the game's a little after 7 to kick things off here in this round of 16. They're going to go. It's Mike and Jason. Bit of a wrap, and that's it. But Star 94, Star 94, Star 94. We're going to go opposition research here and find out about the rest of the equation with our friend and OG and A-lister, Will Palaszczuk, play-by-play voice of Charlotte FC. How are you, my friend?
Good morning, John. An extra chat with you, which is a great thing for me. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah. I have a question for you involving a league that neither of us are interested in, and it's just a topic of conversation that came up, and I'm getting empirical research. There is a cup competition in USL, and
Yes.
it is attached to a tire brand name. And apparently no one has ever seen these tires out in public. Literally, it's like, okay, here's the tire brand name. We've never seen these tires. Have you ever seen a Prinks tire in public? When you've been shopping for tires, which I know is something that you do very frequently, have you ever seen a Prinks tire?
I've never seen a Prinks tire. I've seen Goodyear. I've seen Nokian. I've seen Continental. I've seen Kumho. Pirelli. I've never seen a Prinks tire.
Just checking. Okay. It's that, and so that was officially opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Let me grab my copy so I can actually read the beginning of it here. Start your day with the most important stories in the game. And damn it, a tire we've never heard of or seen is definitely that. Right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala, heavy-bodied. Notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. I'm not a coffee person, so I'm just reading the copy. All right.
I've had their coffee, and it's very good.
Okay.
From my days in Atlanta. So yes.
Okay. Just checking. I mean, hey, look, I will take all of the there
are a lot of people who don't drink coffee.
No,
there's a lot of people who don't drink coffee.
Mountain Dew.
I got two people in my office who don't drink coffee. I think these people are certifiable, John.
We're just.
I didn't realize you were one of those people.
So we're un-American, is what you're saying?
No, I said you're certifiable. It's a lot different. You're American, but you're certifiable.
Absolutely true. And we've known this for quite some time. So as we get into the Open Cup, the magic of the Open Cup, hashtag.
Sure.
You got the chance to catch up with the head coach at Charlotte FC, Dean Smith, yesterday, and he discussed the value of having a building named after himself on the campus of North Carolina Chapel Hill, and the value of basketball and four corners offense.
Yeah.
The value of all of that stuff, but putting the joking and the puns aside, I want to go backward before we come into tonight. What happened on the weekend?
You played one of the best teams in the league is what happened, unfortunately, John. And unfortunately, too, they were without one of their biggest leaders on defense in Tim Ream. And in the last two games, you've definitely seen the value of Tim Ream. And it's not even to cast aspersions about what Andrew Privet brings to the table, because I think Ream and Privet, probably didn't get enough credit for the way they played together. It's just Privet had himself a couple of bad moments against the LA Galaxy, and I don't think his midfield in front of him helped him in the St. Louis contest. So I think from that perspective, Privet maybe gets a little bit of the unfair side of the stick. But Tim Ream does so much when it comes to an organizational aspect of where things are supposed to be defensively and where guys are supposed to move. And I just don't know if you have that same level of experience with Andrew Privet next to the 21-year-old Morrison Adjaman. Now, I understand that, even if they had Tim Ream, it's still an uphill battle against a team that is scoring goals for fun. Sam Sturridge is scoring, at will. Hani Mukhtar has basically owned Charlotte FC in his entire time in MLS. He now has 7 goals head-to-head against us, which is the most of anybody against us in MLS play. He knocked out former New York Red Bulls player Elias Manuel from that fact. So it was tough. I know that, they got a couple of goals. That's the one thing that Charlotte FC is now doing now that they haven't done previously, is scoring set piece goals. They now have 6 set piece goals on the season. They've got a brand new set piece coach, individual development coach as well, by the name of Carl Hooper, who is from the Aston Villa Academy. Very apt that Dean brings him over from that particular side. But all in all, I think there are problems in the midfield when it comes to being able to organize things and build up. I think they're trying to fight it right now. I also don't know where they feel like their best striker is right now, because they've tried Archie Goodwin in there at the start, didn't produce much. And again, I don't necessarily think a lot of it was his fault. Didn't see a lot of the ball. I think at one point in time, the touch ratio between Hani Mukhtar and Archie Goodwin late in the contest was something like 27-2.
Wow.
So it definitely gives you a sense that Charlotte's had a hard time defending. They've had a hard time creating, and they played 2 very tough road matches. And Dean Smith will tell you the fixture list has not been kind to them. They had 5 games basically in a row at home after 2 in a row on the road. Then after the 2 and 5, they now have 4 straight on the road. Their final one of that comes on Saturday against New England. And then another 5 in a row at home. One of those broken up by the World Cup break. It'll end with the Atlanta United first MLS fixture on July 22nd. But it's been a tough go of it. There's been some injuries too. Zaha didn't play on the weekend. Tim Ream didn't play on the weekend, and we lost Harry Toffolo in the match as well against Orlando. So all in all, a good to bad to worse type evening for Charlotte in the Music City.
I feel like I'm doing Chuck Dowdle's old GBU, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So then what are you anticipating lineup wise heading into tonight, knowing schedule compression is our good friend, and the injuries that you mentioned, and coming out of Nashville, and all the energy exerted? What are you anticipating tonight?
I'm interested because looking at the way that Charlotte plays, I expect them to be a little bit different, because I think that Dean Smith will use this to be a little bit innovative, but I also think he will use it to, I think, give some confidence to some players. For example, a player like Luca De La Torre, who I think they brought in on a very high sum of money, and they brought him in to try and do a lot of things progressively with the ball, and it just hasn't worked out. They played him in that box-to-box position that they played Jibril Gianni and Brandt Bronico, and it just has not worked. He's looked a heck of a lot better at the 10 position that is played presently by Pep Biel in MLS matches. And I don't know if we'll see Pep tonight or not, but I do think it's a situation where he might be able to feature off the bench. But I think a situation where he'll try to give somebody some confidence. But I think also, and he acknowledged this yesterday, he's gotten some stick about the way they've looked in cup competitions. And, they won against NCFC last year, now defunct NCFC. or at least I should say in transition,
Mhm.
NCFC.
Yes.
But they were ousted by DC United in a really, really tough cup tie where they were also, again, resting some players, but he's had that kind of same mentality with that competition and even Leagues Cup as well. So I think it's a situation where you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't. So I think there will be less rotation now than they had against Independence. I don't know if you see Reem, Zaha, or Pep BL. I think of the three that might see the action the most, it might be Reem, just because I think they think Reem is a little bit fresher, and especially after a couple of contests off. But at the same point in time, I do wonder how much of a first team that we do see, because I do think that there are some guys who are in those first team positions that need some confidence, i.e., a guy like an Edon Toklamati, a guy like a Liel Abada, and a guy like I mentioned with Luca De La Torre. It should be interesting.
So then, who in your figuring out of the lineup, who's going to be getting an opportunity tonight to prove that they need more first team minutes? Who from the below the A-listers do you think is going to be getting those quality minutes tonight to show Dean Smith that, hey, I need to be getting more time out there than you've been giving me?
Well, De La Torre is definitely one of them. I'm wondering too about the left back position, because David Schnegg has been kind of in that reserve role at left back, but he's come on and looked very, very good in every one of his opportunities. Had an assist off the bench against St. Louis, has had a couple of also other key goal contribution moments. He had a goal and an assist in the Open Cup game against Independence. So I think he's definitely somebody who can be a part of that. And even a guy like Abada. I mean, this is a situation where Charlotte paid a lot of money for Liel Abada in 2024. I think he had a decent run of form, had the 2 goals against Atlanta in that year. And then for whatever reason, 2025 hit, and it just has not clicked for him since then. The last time he scored a goal in an MLS game was the 28th of May of last year.
Wow.
Scored in the Leagues Cup for us against Chivas. But that's really been it for him. And he has not had it. And that's a guy that they paid somewhere in the neighborhood of $7.5, $8 million for. So I think it's a situation where you look at where Charlotte FC sits, and you really want to see if you can make that work for a couple of reasons. Number one, just the selfish part of the productivity, but also the fact that you just need productivity from that position because it's DP, and you have to figure out, hey, is this somebody we want to keep beyond the end of the World Cup break, because he's under contract through the end of the year. There is a club option for 2027. I don't know if they're going to exercise that. I think it's a situation where he's probably gone in the summer because they want to upgrade that position. And what they've talked about is, the most demonstrated and crazy summer that we've ever seen when it comes to MLS player movement. But what I will say is that, I would say that those are the three that I think this game is most important for. And also even a guy like an Aaron John, because Aaron John is somebody who has really risen up the ranks. Dean Smith gave him the start in the opening preseason game, which is something he did to Nimfasha Berkimas a couple of years ago when he first got here. And Dean, for whatever reason, has been, I think, unfairly labeled as somebody who does not want to give chances to young players. And that a lot of that is in reference to Berkimas. And I think that's a very unfair moniker to label onto him, because I think Nimfa came on, played 3 games in the opening portion of 2024. Then they signed Abada, and they felt, okay, now it's time to give Nimfa some run at Crown Legacy. Nimfa had an okay season at Crown Legacy that year. 25, he comes back, he gets hurt, and doesn't necessarily have the ability to produce during that season. And so people are wondering, okay, why is Berkimas not playing with the first team? It seems like playing 90-minute games at Crown Legacy is more impactful for his development than cameo appearances at a left wing position that, quite frankly, Dean Smith does not take Wilfred Zaha off for anything. And you wouldn't, because he's Wilfred Zaha. So it just comes to me from a sense of people have unfairly labeled him on that with Berkimas, and yet he's literally given Aaron John every opportunity to make the squad, and he got signed as a homegrown this season. So I don't think that happens without Dean Smith's blessing and without his desire to want to grow this club. And he has said that, the facets of a healthy club are when you are growing from your academy and you are putting those guys into the first team. And they're starting to do that now. I know a lot of it's happened with the sign and stash guys like Idan Toklamati, with Morrison Anjaman, Rodolfo Loco, those guys. But now it's starting to happen with guys who they literally have grown from the seed, so to speak.
Okay, so my golden retriever brain has now just picked up another question that has nothing to do with tonight, or it might. I don't know. Common thought pattern on Rodolfo Oloco, because we've seen him in MLS Next Pro raise all kinds of holy hell. How is he being viewed right now? Or is he still kind of a Crown legacy? Okay, we need to see more of what we've been seeing. Is he going to be getting cups of coffee, hanging out with you? What's the latest?
I mean, he started literally the last 3 games. And I think he's somebody who will probably start again tonight. They really want to see what this guy looks like. They're giving him more than a demonstrated opportunity to win the right wing job. And I don't think it's necessarily anything Kaylor Vargas did. I just think it's more they like what his profile brings. He's bigger. He's broad. I mean, you know this from watching him at Crown Legacy. He's incredibly demonstrated with his skills.
He's an aircraft carrier, man.
I think the only thing that's a question with him is what the final product looks like on a consistent basis. You know, sometimes he'd be a little bit aggressive when it comes to challenges, but you know, I think they're okay with that. I think they'd rather have that than somebody who doesn't necessarily show a fight for the ball. And if you know what Dean Smith does with his system, he asks a lot out of his wingers when it comes to defending. And there's definitely a high work rate with Rodolfo Oloco, which I think is something that they love and something that will keep him in the starting lineup as long as he now starts to produce. I think it's one of those things where I asked Dean last week going into the Nashville match. I said it does seem like Rodolfo has a lot of the measurables with some rawness to him. I said, how much are you willing to live with the rawness? And he says, you have to with a player like that. He's 19, but he's also an international for his team, for his country in Benin. So I come back to the fact that they're looking for it. They're trying to find it. I know that goals for them have not necessarily been hard to find, but the problem is they've come in bunches, and a lot of times it's come against teams that are down a man. So they're trying to find their best 11v11 lineup right now, and I think he's definitely getting more than a demonstrated shot to try and win that position because they like what they see from him from a measurable standpoint, and they're hoping that the other stuff works itself out as well.
And one more question for you, and then you can get back to your morning coffee and your breakfast and things. The surface at Matthews, not necessarily.
Grass.
Yeah, and you're on grass versus turf at B of A. Is it wider? Is how much surface area are we talking that folks have to navigate there for Charlotte versus what they're used to seeing at the bank? It's going to be a tighter space. Does that impact anything when it comes to bumper cars offensively or anything like that?
I don't think it's an unfair pitch at all. I think it's again it's not the footprint that Bank of America is, but I think more of that's a faction of what Bank of America's footprint lays on, as opposed to Matthews. It's a fantastic facility. Charlotte used that building for the first year and a half of its existence. They trained on that field every day, absent when they trained over at the stadium in preparation for home games. So they're very familiar with that facility over there. It's a fantastic track. We were over there a couple of weeks ago. It plays fine. I don't think there's any concern about pitch size or anything like that. Like I said, Legacy plays on that field every week too as well. So I don't foresee that being necessarily a talking point or an issue here tonight.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it was like playing in a phone booth versus playing like they're used to at B of A.
This is not Yankee Stadium. This is not Citi Field. It's
not like the 106 by 68 up in the Bronx.
No. This is not. I don't think you're dealing with that kind of stuff.
Okay. If you would please, sir, please hit the promo and let everybody know how they can listen to you and hit local radio options on Apple and all that kind of stuff every single time that you have a match that you are calling. Hit it.
Yes, we're on 92.7 FM here in Charlotte. Home radio, obviously, on Apple TV as it is as it is available for that for our home games. We're not on the air tonight, but I will be there, and I will be following the action on our Twitter/X machine at Willie P Style. We'll have comments from Dean Smith afterwards as well, and I'm looking forward to it. I think Dean's happy about the fact that it's a rivalry matchup. It gives you a little bit of extra something in the mix. I don't think he likes the fact that the automatic winner of this automatically has to play on the road, which is a little bit weird. But
Yeah.
that part is up to the immutable wisdom of our friends at the U.S. Open Cup.
Yes. So the word of the day is now immutable, and I actually know how to spell that. So it's two M's.
There you go.
Immutable. So certifiable and immutable. We've had those two words today. As always, my friend, great to see you, and keep kicking. You know what? And we'll catch up with us soon. If you ever want to vent your spleen on anything, you know that you can come in and crash at any time.
I appreciate that, John. Thank you.
All right, there goes Will Palaszczuk, play-by-play voice for Charlotte. He's going to go drink his coffee now, and it's always great to catch up with Willie P and find out what's going on there. Kurt Badenhausen from Sportico coming up in a couple of minutes, and we're going to look at 18 MLS franchises. And the exercise that they did at Sportico to come up with the most valuable valuables to come up with all this stuff. And by the way, Real Madrid has said in their rundown that now that Florentino Perez is now back in charge, he is now saying that he wants Jose Mourinho to come back to be in charge of Real Madrid. And I don't know if that's going to necessarily go over well. But, yeah, preferred candidate of Florentino Perez to become the next Real Madrid head coach. And from David Ornstein, I know this will shock you. Support not universal inside Real Madrid, but president driving the process. So the 63-year-old is a strong contender. There is a €3 million break clause in the Benfica deal. So Mario Cortegana and David Ornstein came together this morning, and it was updated about a half hour ago. Jose Mourinho is Perez's favorite candidate to replace Alvaro Arbeloa as head coach. Appointed in January to replace the sacked Xabi Alonso, now expected to be dismissed at the end of the year. So season's not even over. Arbeloa's in as the caretaker, the substitute teacher, whatever. Multiple sources speaking anonymously, as they did not have permission to comment, have told The Athletic the decision on who will become Madrid's next coach is being driven by Perez. In contrast to the hiring of Alonso to replace Carlo Ancelotti at the end of last season, process which was led by Madrid's GM Jose Angel Sanchez, but given the green light by Perez. Perez wants to rebuild a project that has, according to Cortegana and Ornstein, fallen into disrepair. Madrid set to end a second consecutive campaign without winning a major trophy such as La Liga, Champions League, or the Copa del Rey. President now the main supporter of bringing back Mourinho, and some other voices within the club are opposed. Color me shocked. Return to the Bernabeu would enable Mourinho and Perez to rekindle the relationship that had three trophies between 2010 and 2013, 2011-12 La Liga title, new record points total, claiming a title hadn't won for the last 2 years. Champions League, a trophy Mourinho has won with Porto and Inter Milan, was the only accolade missing from the spell in the Spanish capital. The attention Mourinho would bring to the club and La Liga would also be appealing following such a forgettable campaign. Divisive figure in the dressing room during his time, tensions with then-captain Iker Casillas did not go down well among many fans in the media, attracted widespread criticism for his comments after Madrid forward Vinicius Jr. alleged he was racially abused by Prestiani in a Champions League match in Lisbon, February 17th. And so Mourinho joined Benfica in September under contract through June of 27. There is the €3 million bust-out clause, allowing either party to break the deal up 10 days after the final match of the year. It has become common in recent years, according to Ornstein and Cortegana, for Madrid to appoint managers who've previously been at the club. Zidane returned in 19 after having left a year earlier. Ancelotti came back for a second spell in 21 after his sacking in 15. Rafa Benitez, Lopetegui, Alonso, and Arbeloa had also previously been associated with Madrid, either as players, coaches, or both. Madrid has considered U.S. manager Mauricio Pochettino as a possible candidate to replace Arbeloa, promoted from the reserve team in January. France coach Didier Deschamps also mentioned internally, and Jurgen Klopp also mentioned as well. And so that's the latest on Real Madrid. So now, since it is 9:30, it is 9:30, like 9:30 on the smash, right there. Kurt's not messing around. Literally, he comes in at 9:30. It's 9:30, and Kurt is in at 9:30. Dude, you ain't messing around, man.
Sorry, should have given a couple-minute buffer. Running around here this morning.
I mean, dude,
trains delayed per usual, so just walked into the office.
Well, and that's why I wanted to book it at 9:30, because I remember what happened last time. And
Yes.
if everything hits the right way, then you're in the office. You get the chance to grab your coffee and the pseudo breakfast, sit there in the booth, and then you're good to go at 9:30. But those darn trains.
No, I'm in before 9 if trains all work. They never work.
And then, of course, they never work. Reason we always like to bring you in is to talk the money aspect of things. And before you came in, I was discussing Real Madrid and how their new old president, Florentino Perez, wants to bring in Jose Mourinho to be their new old manager starting next season. And the math that you guys do to put together the top 50, and with Real Madrid at the top, tippy top, with some staggering numbers. At least they're not as much in debt as Barcelona is. There's my dig for the morning, at least in the opening paragraph. How much work goes into assembling this? Because in reading all of the parameters that it takes for you guys to come up with the top 50, it almost seems like it's something that you start 3 years ago to get ready to produce last week. I mean, what kind of work goes into this thing?
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it, and it is always a long-term project. It's something we're working on year-round. Whether we're talking about global soccer, NFL, NBA, we're looking at what's happening in the marketplace, transactions that are going on, either control sales, which do not happen very frequently, or LP stake sales, which happen more regularly, but are not necessarily a perfect line in terms of a direct line in terms of what a control of a team would cost. And so what's nice about not MLS, but the European clubs certainly is that you have access to their finances, as we see all the time. That makes it a heck of a lot easier because you have all the information, really. You have revenue, which is the number that most bankers think about as the baseline when they're looking at valuations. But you have profit and losses, as we see all the time when people write about Chelsea and all the other clubs about how much they're losing. So that's how we think about it. And then you look at biggest transaction certainly over the last 12 months, Atletico Madrid at the top tier here. But global soccer is tricky because you have different countries. You have certainly promotion and relegation, which the tier, at the very top tier, we don't normally have to worry about it. The Real Madrids, Barcelonas, they're not getting relegated. We traditionally think about that in the EPL with the big six clubs, but this year has proven that they're not necessarily relegation proof, as we'll see. So it's a lot. We spend a lot of time on it and then really crank it up over the last month.
I mean, is it like Google Docs, PDFs, big white dry erase boards off camera, like I'm looking at here, like the big 4 foot by 6 foot with a bunch of numbers and different colors and everything? And how do you assemble all of this and make sure that you've gone back to the right files to make sure that you've got all of the information in the right?
Yeah, I'm old school. I use Excel. I track everything through Excel, and we got a long Sportico launched in 2020, so we're starting to build up a pretty good, rich history with 6 years of historical data, and sometimes reference back my former days at Forbes and the valuations we used to do. Longer historical context than just 6 years.
Was there one particular club, either good or bad, in this 50 that surprised you when you came up with the information that you did? Whether, I didn't know that they had this much going for them. Or I didn't know these guys were in this much trouble. Was there a surprise when you were assembling the top 50?
I think what really jumped out talking to bankers, investors, is England. Everybody we talked to said Premier League championship. That is, they are head and shoulders above everybody else, and we've known that for a long time, right? The best soccer league in the world, but in terms of where people want to put their money, they're thinking about the Premier League, which is really interesting because it's very hard to stay in the Premier League right now because you have arguably 18 ownership groups that they don't want to be in the championship. These are like well capitalized, very aggressive. I mean, with the 49ers coming in and buying Leeds and Shad Khan buying Fulham, and I mean the turnover, obviously Newcastle, Piff coming in and buying Newcastle. It stretches a lot farther than just the big six in terms of this group of just powerhouse ownership groups. And so, but still, that said, because of the TV money, and you look around what's happening, obviously France, TV money has basically evaporated. Italy, is kind of holding on. Is DAZN the partner you want long term for your TV money? They ran away from France at the drop of a hat. So there's some concerns there. La Liga is obviously so top heavy with those three multi-billion-dollar clubs. And Germany's Germany. I mean, Germany's super steady, but hard to buy into because of the ownership rules, the 50+1. So, so really, overwhelmingly, people talked about getting into the Premier League, but of course, the finances are so messed up. Everybody's losing money. I mean, 16 out of the 20 clubs lost money in the 24-25 season because the competition is just brutal to either secure a Champions League spot for those top tier clubs. Everybody else, it's to stay up. Big difference between finishing 17th and 18th. And then you've got the clubs in the championship who are spending because they want to move up. So it's the competition is just is brutal right now. So EPL way up this year over the last 2 years in terms of slots in the top 50, up to 17, I believe, in this year's top 50, 16 or 17. So including a club that's going to be relegated, either West Ham or Tottenham's getting relegated. They both make the cut.
35 of the 50 are either Premier League or Major League Soccer. And to see some of the numbers that are attached to Major League Soccer, who is still, I believe, in a growth economy where you have owners who want to pick up franchises and then they want to build their own barn. So that way they can control their own finances and have all the revenue streams heading in that one direction so they can continue to have the value of their club continue to increase and without any kind of outside influence or somebody like Aries Management knocking on your door, John Texter. I thought it was really interesting to see just the sheer depth of half of Major League Soccer in this list now, considering what we've seen over the last, say, 5 years when it comes to the growth of Major League Soccer on the whole.
Yeah. You're 100% right here. 18 clubs overall made the top 50. The top 15 clubs are all in Europe. So Major League Soccer and Inter Miami's starting to knock on the door. They rank number 16, and their revenue in their new building and with Messi, they're targeting $250 million this year, which again, that's a bottom. That's the bottom of the Premier League. That's a big number. That's I don't know,
that ain't bad for a new barn, man.
That's pretty good. That's what 7x what Vancouver is going to do. So it's because of promotion and the lack of promotion relegation, MLS sets a floor value for clubs, and MLS is, to your point, very much a real estate play. These clubs are looking to build top state-of-the-art soccer-only stadiums, develop the real estate around it, build really strong local. I mean, you look around Columbus, Cincinnati, Austin, what they've been able to build in smaller markets, vibrant scene, great revenue. And now the bigger markets are starting to come online. Obviously Miami, their new building opening, New York opening their new building, Chicago is going to self-fund a brand new building. And that's been the drag, right, in MLS these years, these big market clubs that haven't performed. So overall, 18 clubs versus Premier League 16 Premier League clubs make the cut, but you look at the the valuations are still very different. So the 16 Premier League clubs are worth almost $40 billion. The 18 MLS clubs that make the cut are worth $16 billion. So the price point at the top is very different. But because of just the structure of MLS, you have a floor value for really what a club is worth. But MLS, they haven't. It goes back to media, right? They do not have the media money, so the MLS valuation growth has been pretty slow. As we look over the last few years, we've had outliers like Miami, New York, and Chicago getting new buildings, but overall, the revenue multiples to get into MLS have come down a lot, and they've really lagged the other big four North American sports leagues in terms of value creation.
Right. And when you look at, I guess, the future of Major League Soccer, there is this beacon, or I guess this is light at the end of this tunnel. And I'm intrigued at Team 16 when Lionel Messi finally does hang him up at the age of 74
Yep.
or whatever. and it's just
Jorge Mas can only dream.
I know. And you're sitting there and you're going, okay, so what do you do for an encore to keep your value where it is? Because you've got the big dog. The big dog brought in a bunch of other big dogs to be this this central force in bringing Major League Soccer forward. And I've been one that has always been signing off on this. It's like, okay, great, the Moss brothers and initially Marcelo Claure and David Beckham, they want to bring the league forward by bringing in all these stars and spending all this money and building a new barn and all this kind of stuff. Now what are you going to do for an encore when he finally retires to keep your value where it is and to keep the league where it is in its growth and its relevance and all these kinds of things? It's not going to happen, tomorrow, but I think it's an interesting point here where 18 of the franchises in Major League Soccer are the top 50. So what happens when one of your marquee dudes leaves and retires? How do you keep up? How do you keep up with the Joneses in that? That to me is going to be really interesting in how the league approaches it.
Absolutely. That's the problem. And there is only one Messi. Right? They're not bringing in there's not another Messi walking in the door. So they've got to figure out, who is that next tier of star that you can bring in. And again, it will not have the same impact as, the most famous athlete on the planet. That's just not realistic. So they recognize that. But you bring up a great point, because what's happened, MLS is facing an inflection point, right? Because you have the clubs like Inter Miami, LAFC, Chicago. These clubs, they want to go for it. They want to be aggressive. They want, they're telling MLS, let's, take the brakes off. Let's go. We've got to push harder. And they've got Apple behind them saying the same thing. Apple wants more stars coming into this league. They don't want parity. You see the value of super teams and what that brings to the league. The idea that everybody should have a reasonable path to winning every single year. That's not how a traditional sports. That's not how a sports.
It can't be reasonable when it comes to determining a champ. Come on.
No. But you have teams that want to spend and they want to bring more stars to the league. Now the league will, push back on that and say, listen, let's look at the history here. Messi has been incredible. David Beckham did incredible things. But if we look at the history of bringing in big name designated, Zlatan is great. But the history, you could rattle off 10 names that came in who were going to not be Messi impact, but big superstars that came in that flopped in MLS. Didn't move the needle at all. But you look at what Messi's done. Well, look at Son's doing in LAFC, which again, he's not the best soccer player in the world or most famous, but he's a unique market, a unique market that has unlocked value. And I think that move, maybe even again, because Messi is unreplaceable, but I think that move has clubs rethinking like, we don't necessarily have to chase whoever the person, Cristiano Ronaldo, or to come and play in MLS. I mean, but there are those players that be like, wow, that guy's a needle mover in ways that, just because he's not the most famous player on the planet, he can really make an impact for us again on the pitch and then off as well.
You find that individual or group of individuals in an untapped market, which is what I think LAFC did when they brought in Sun Heung-min. And you've opened the doors to an entirely different group of folks to your product. And so I thought that was a fantastic move by LAFC. And you mentioned the inflection point of Major League Soccer. And I keep looking at team number 9 on your list. And it's Chelsea over in England. And Bowley Clearlake comes in. They've spent, I believe the official term is $11 billion. And they're just kind of there. I mean, so for all of that investment that Bowley Clearlake has brought in, and then what Aries management, and that's another part of this whole discussion when it comes to, equity firms and keeping an eye on their investments and what they might be able to hop in on. You're getting to an inflection point, but then do you want to get to that point where the governor is completely out of the golf cart? You're doing what Chelsea is doing and what other clubs are doing, and it's not benefiting really your investment, because all you're doing is you're just basically, look, man, you just reversed the vacuum cleaner, and it's like that old stunt that they used to have on the game show where you're in the hermetically sealed room and the dollar bills are just flying all over the place and you're trying to grab onto them. That's what it seems like with Chelsea. And all they're doing is throwing money at a problem, and they're running 22 different holdcos, I think, if I remember correctly, 22 different subsidiaries, because I've got the tree somewhere in my It's like that you're riding a real dangerous game at points, and that inflection point can cause you to make a decision. It's going to be time to really put that thought pattern, put that big thinking cap on when it comes to Major League Soccer about taking that next step and having more teams come into this top 50 and more teams go higher in this top 50.
Yeah, no, MLS does not want to. They do not want to go down that path that we've seen Chelsea do, sovereign wealth funds do, where they just are lighting money on fire. They do not want a league that just is ignoring losses and just losing, in Chelsea's case, hundreds of millions of dollars a year. Chelsea, really hard one, talking to people, really hard one to value. Outside, beyond Tottenham and West Ham, Chelsea probably the third hardest club when talking to people what it's worth, because we all saw the incredible work that was done in terms of people on the forensic accounting going much deeper than just what's reported at Company's House, but tying it all together, and all the financial shenanigans over the last couple of years with selling the hotel, selling the women's team just to comply with league rules on spending. To themselves. Yeah, I should have made that more clear. To themselves, which again, Newcastle just pulled off the same thing, selling its stadium to itself. It's a hard one to value. And you talk to people about Chelsea, and they say, yes, but it's Chelsea. It's in London. It's in the good part of London. Like, if they, again, hit the market again, there'd be people rushing in the door to get this. Now, and they still have the same fundamental problems with a stadium. How do you figure out next steps for a stadium? Being in the good part of London's great, but it also makes it, next to impossible to build something new.
See Manchester United.
Yeah, so it's wild. I mean, it's the wild, wild west in Europe, because these clubs are competing with the spending with each other. And we saw PSG rack up hundreds of millions of losses year after year with their super squads, and now, ironically, have cut back their player spending dramatically, and suddenly win Champions League, and here in the Final Four again, without all the superstars. But they're competing with the Premier League can put in stricter financial controls, which I think most owners would like to see to protect themselves from each other. And you have all these American owners buying into clubs in England and would like to see some sort of tighter cost controls like exist in all the North American major sports leagues. But again, you're competing with Real Madrid, you're competing with Barcelona, you're competing with Bayern Munich for European competitions. So do you want to be hamstrung there where you can't afford the best talent when you're trying to win Champions League or Europa Cup? And so it's soccer economics are fascinating. It's just wild.
And this is why everyone should be Bodo Glimt. That is the answer to this. And when the finances come up with what you guys do at Sportico, and you specifically, I don't know how many sleepless nights you have, especially when you're getting close to deadline, to make sure your math is right. You've double sourced it, and I'm sure that you've blown up Kieran McGuire's phone about 19 different times. It's like, yo, dude, we're this close, but I got to ask you one more question. It's at sportico.com. It is all over.
He's fantastic. Swiss Ramble is the place to be. He does incredible forensic work on every soccer club, big and small.
Yes. So if you would please, sir, cut the promo and let everybody know where they can look at all of this fantastic information. And I know that you're starting on the 27-28 version of this right now when the second week get off and working for what's going on. But go ahead and cut the promo. Let everybody know where they can watch this and see this.
Yeah, thanks, John. Yeah, sportico.com. You can find all the great content we do on the business of sports, as well as on all social feeds. You can find me at K Badenhausen on Twitter, largely posting occasionally on what's happening on the business of sports, soccer, and valuations and otherwise.
Yes, that's why we bring you on. We bring you on for the otherwise. So if at any time you want to come in, you got the green light. You want to vent your spleen about anything. Hey, I got something going on. You want to break any news? You hit me over the head. Hey, John, I want to come in here and I want to talk about something. I want to talk about coffee and what I put in my coffee every morning. Literally, you got a green light, my friend. It's always great to see, especially this time of year when you come out with all the numbers and we get to break bread and find out about all this stuff. It's always cool to see you, my friend. Don't be a stranger. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, John. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
There goes Kurt Badenhausen. Man, that's cool. It's always cool when literally we can knock on his door. Hey, dude, can you come on? He's like, yeah, I'll come on. But I always try to make sure it's 9:30 because of trains and things. I always try to make sure it's 9:30. But it's always great to see Kurt and see what's going on in and around the planet when it comes to the financials and the business of sports, specifically when it comes to soccer. Okay, I got a handful of minutes here. Phil Thomas set to join us, the head coach at River Ridge, at 10:30. So that means what we're going to do is we are going to catch up with Kaylor Hodges a couple of minutes early and find out what's going on in and around the USL, because there's a lot going on in and around USL. And so Vancouver. Yeah. And so we need to get into Vancouver. We need to get into all the other stuff. Dell's had a couple of good questions this morning. And let's see, didn't MLS jump over the top four? So right now, in the Sportico top 50, right now the top club from Major League Soccer is Messi and Friends at 16. 16, 17, 18. Atlanta United is at 19, ranked at $1.14 billion on revenue of $117 million. 24-25 revenue of $117 million. Literally, you can tell when it goes from European football to American football, because Inter Milan at 15 had revenue of $613 million. Inter Miami had about a third of that, 215 and 24-25. LAFC, LAG, Atlanta United, NYCFC, all above $1 billion in value. And to give you an idea as to how they piece this together, it is calculating revenue on available financial statements, Deloitte's publication, Kieran O'Connor, and then estimates in cases detailed information wasn't available. They used their valuations back in February. It's Kieran O'Connor, not Kieran McGuire. Valuations published, real estate and related businesses. So Swiss Ramble is where they go to help out with Sportico and all that kind of stuff. 24-25 fiscal year. Broadcast is domestic and international media deals. Commercial revenue, sponsorships, advertising, corporate hospitality, catering, and non-match day events. So what MBS does when Atlanta United's not in the building. Jersey sponsor and kit deal. Match day revenue, ticket sales, membership income, cup competitions, preseason tickets, the smallest revenue component for European teams. Revenue total subject to a team-specific multiplier, which remains the standard metric for valuing sports teams and transactions. And earnings can have big valuations year to year. Interviews with those knowledgeable of finances, sport bankers, attorneys, actively working on soccer transactions, individuals at firms and global soccer franchises. We traded candor for anonymity, vetted by multiple teams and industry experts. Threat of relegation results dramatically spread European clubs from 2.5 times revenue to 7.25. And so that's how they came up with their numbers. And so here's the list. And here is their rundown of how they broke it down. But Dell, yes. In discussing a couple of points before we get into Kaylor Hodges really quickly. One, right now, when you have a statement, and we talked about it last night on Soccer Over There, Vancouver put out a statement last night saying that, yes, we're for sale. No, we'd like to stay. And if anybody local is interested, we'd love to hear from you. When you have that, and I was paraphrasing, but when you have that in a statement released by an ownership group that has been trying to sell a franchise for about 18 months, that's not a good sign. And I know that there have been folks on social media that have been kind of needling Ryan Reynolds and what have you. So, strange. That's wild. Okay. Because strange. Because I'm staring at the list right now. And so Dell's saying it's only available to subscribers. There are other, try like Yahoo Sports or CBS, because they'll post things sideways. Try there. And I'll try and find it in the Kaylor Hodges interview. I'll try and come up with the other link outside of Sportico, but I'm staring at it and I'm not logged in. Vancouver right now, when they put out a statement like that, that's not good. There we go. Michael on Google. Well done. And the reports coming from Tom Bogert et al. At The Athletic, where apparently there was Kaylor's on tape, but we taped it last night because he's got like school teaching and things he has to do, and so we have to do it the night before. So it's from the night before with Kaylor. But go ahead and ask questions, and I'll answer them on the flip side after we catch up with Coach toward the end of the show. You've got with Vancouver the possibility of Vegas. Vegas seems to be like the be-all, end-all right now for everybody. If all else fails, hey, what about Vegas? And there is a discussion on a separate path about a group that wants to build a 50,000-seat soccer stadium in Vegas, but it is not the group that is attached to possibly being interested in picking up Vancouver and moving them to Vegas. My guess is that they'd move them into Allegiant and get them stacked with everything else to continue to have Allegiant get dates. So we got to keep an eye on that with Vancouver. And so we keep an eye on Vancouver and find out what the latest is there. Dell, to your question about using the World Cup to attract talent, I would imagine so, especially if you were wandering into the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground and you see what Atlanta United does when it comes to investing in players and talent. It's an instant drawing card. So I would think that, yes, Major League Soccer franchises will be using the World Extravaganza coming up here in less than 50 days to try and bring in other talent. But the point that Kurt made about MLS being at an inflection point, there we go. Thank you, Bleacher Report. So Bleacher Report and Google, that's where the list is. And it is going to be interesting to see what Major League Soccer does in a couple of years. Messi and friends, they got a new stadium in U and NEW. What do you do for an encore? How do you maintain? How do you keep up with what you're doing? How do you keep your pace without turning into teams 15 through 1 and you end up with debt and equity firms and all of that stuff? That's the big question going forward. But 18 teams in the list that are Major League Soccer franchises. 34 of the 50 are either Premier League or Major League Soccer, which should tell you about the leagues themselves and how they're not top heavy, and how Major League Soccer's approach over the last 30 years, where you bring everybody along. I mean, Austin is in this list worth $915 million. That was crazy to me. That was absolutely crazy to me. St. Louis City is $675 million. $675 million. You're ranked number 49. That's your value right now for St. Louis City SC at $675 million. Okay, I'm late. I'm horribly late. All right. Yes, and Abby, that is the big thing. Who do they get when Messi retires? So we'll talk about this coming up in a bit. Kaylor Hodges coming up now. Philip Thomas, head coach at River Ridge. And then we'll come back and revisit all of this stuff and get you ready for the day. And we'll hope that the power stays on. So here's our catch up with Kaylor Hodges on the month that was in USL Championship, USL League One, all the things. Here we are catching up with Kaylor. Back in a bit. All right, dealer's choice. Where do you want to start? You want to start with the league, or do you want to start with the cup, where I heard that the team that wins gets radial tires for every car in the parking lot?
No one has ever seen a Prinks tire in real life. I don't know who buys them.
And, I mean, I can't think of a Prinks tire myself.
So I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to start with the Super League, if that's okay with you.
As you wish. Go for it. What's going on?
Super League, we just have one final playoff spot available, and it's Dallas Unity versus Sporting Jacks. Lexington, Carolina all cement themselves into the playoff. And Sporting Jacks, I mean, they have been fantastic for a year one side. I mean, they have 3 of the top 4 goal scorers in the league. They are an all-out attack team. But Lexington's just kind of been quietly chugging along, despite all the signings they made. They've been just silently going about their thing. And then Carolina got really hot out of nowhere. After the fall split ends, they get into the spring split, easy for me to say.
Yes.
They bring on Tyler Lucy, and she has been an absolute game changer and bringing just some solidity. Even though she's an attacking player, it kind of stirred up some issues, which allowed defensive players to stay defensive. And now we're looking at DC Power. They were awful last year. Now they're on the door looking to knock their way in. You're looking at Spokane Zephyr. They have the same amount of points as DC Power, and they are also knocking on the door. Dallas City holding on point, all teams on the same amount of games played. It's a really tight finish to this end of this season. And remember, only the top 4 make it. And whoever gets that home field advantage right now, it looks like Sporting Jacks. However, Lexington just beat Sporting Jacks at Hodges Stadium to draw the distance between the two to just 1 point. So Sporting Jacks slips up one good time. The finals just may run through Lexington.
Well, I was going to say, when has Lexington ever been quiet about their approach? It doesn't matter which franchise we're talking about here, but Lexington is not messing around. They have come to have their philosophy, and they're trying to charge to the top of the table. Doesn't matter what league we're talking about. You mentioned Sporting Jacks, and with what they've been able to do in a first year, and I mean, has it been all gas, no brakes for Stacy and everybody? I mean, what has it been like to see them this year?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. I mean, as soon as they came out the gates, they were impressive. They were beating everybody in touches in the box. They had just as many touches in the 18-yard box in the very first game as their opponent did, almost total. Like they have been unbelievable in what they've been able to do in the final third. Okay, that was the sack, final third, not in the box. But even so,
yeah,
the fact that they've been able to go so far into just being attacking has been impressive. Ashlyn Puerta has slowed down. She's only second in the league in scoring, and instead of scoring, she's just become Mrs. Sister. And now Bailey DeSmith's getting on the score sheet. She's racking up the goals right behind Puerta. And this back line, I mean, they're solid, but you can't score if you don't have the ball, right? And that's what Jacksonville's doing to other teams. Something to kind of keep the eye out on for other fans is that you have DC Power taking on Dallas Trinity, which is going to be right on to see who's going to get into that final spot. Who does Spokane have? Lexington. It's going to be at Spokane. That helps.
Okay. Yeah.
But if I am DC Power or if I am Dallas Trinity, I am circling this game and says you have to win. You cannot rely on anybody else to give you results. Maybe Spokane can eke out a draw, which might be the best thing for both DC Power and Dallas Trinity. But that is a mandatory 3 points if you want to stay in this playoff hunt.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun seeing the sprint down the stretch for the USL Super League, as the folks at Gainbridge have really gotten their money's worth when it comes to the goal scoring and the offense up top. It's like there's two separate groups. It's 1, 2, and 3, and then the chase to be number 4. So I'm intrigued by this, and I'm really enthusiastic about what we've seen in this particular grouping of the Super League here in 25-26.
No doubt.
I'm just me. All right. So are we talking tires or are we talking league itself?
Let's talk some tires. I'm always down to talk some tires. It's been fun. It always is. And you always like to see these League One championship matchups and see who can come out on top, who can maybe take advantage of the system. Mm-hmm. Right. That was a couple years ago, and I'm trying to distinctly remember who it was now. Northern Colorado, the year that they won it all.
Yeah.
The part of, and Eamon Zayed pushed back on me a little bit when I mentioned this to him. However, Coco figured out their season through the Jägermeister Cup because this is a competition that incentivizes scoring. Mm-hmm. You're not going to nil your way into PKs because you're not going to get all 3 points. You're only getting 2 from that situation. Yes, it's 2 points, but don't you want all 3? Yeah. Tiebreakers being goals scored. This is something that it just really goes for the all gas, no brakes. And a team that I think might be, I don't want to call fixing themselves, but showing that they're more competent than maybe they showed. I mean, you end up having Monterey Bay beating Oakland Roots 2-2 and then penalties later on. I didn't think that Monterey Bay had 2 goals in them this year, let alone against Oakland. Mm-hmm. But this type of matchup where you are incentivized to go for it. It's not like you're going to finish last in the group and then suddenly you're necessarily made fun of and you're a wooden spoon contender, right? You have nothing to lose for going after this tournament. In fact, you have everything to gain. This is the only thing that the USL has right now with actual prize money on the line. You win it, you get money. We don't know if that's necessarily true for the USL Championship or League One. Mm-hmm. You only have stuff to gain, nothing to lose. Go for it. And Monterey Bay looked reinvigorated. They look like a really good team. On the other side, I mean, Oakland has been pretty good, not as great as they were as they started off this season. But you're looking at a team like an Oakland, like a Monterey Bay. You're looking at teams like Miami who get a win over Sporting Jacks, who Miami has been a lot better than people kind of thought they would be. You would think that maybe the all gas, no brakes would go forward for Sporting Jacks like they do on the women's side. On the men's side, he kind of figured the same thing. Hasn't quite worked. No. I'm really interested to see who the next bubbling team who can take advantage of the format and maybe get hot for the rest of the season.
You look at the championship since we're here, and I mean, you can say the same thing about League One, but the grouping of where everybody is right now. I mean, if you look at it in the East, it's Louisville and Tampa Bay, and they're a little bit clear. They've got a little bit of breathing room. But then you go 3 through 10 in the East. You have 8 teams separated by 3 points. Then you go into the West, and you've got the competition up top with more teams in a short amount of space. Orange County, San Antonio, El Paso, Oakland, and then Sacramento kind of leads that second group. Or if you want to include them in the first group, I could sit there and say A-, Sacramento, you're still in there. Then group 2, you're looking at Phoenix, Colorado, New Mexico, Lexington, Tulsa, and Vegas. So that's 6 teams separated by 4 points after 5, 6, or 7 matches in the year. It's crazy right now where these groups are and how tight they are with each other.
I think I said it preseason when I talked to you, and right after the season started, across the championship, across League One, there is no bad team. Like, there's just not. There's Jacksonville, there's Monterey Bay, who we just talked about.
Right.
But even so, I mean, they're looking more and more competent as we go along. Sporting Jacks is giving me less faith every single day. But even so, you talk about how tight everything is. Even at the top, let's look at the East. This is a Eastern Conference pod, kind of. I mean, based in Atlanta, that's kind of what we do.
True.
We also have our friends in Charleston that like to watch this. So,
yeah.
I'll give them a little thing here.
Okay.
Aside from Tampa Bay, every single team in the East looks beatable.
Mm-hmm.
Louisville looks human. They're really good. Don't get me wrong.
But how much of that is not having Danny around anymore on the touchline?
I don't know, and that's a great question. But even so, that doesn't change the position that they're in.
Yeah,
they look human. They do look human. You see teams that went in there and have taken it to them. Charleston went after them, and Charleston showed something to them, and they were like, okay, this Charleston team's legit. Ben Pierman has gone direct, which is something he's not known for. He's not known for long balls over the top, and that's how he beat Louisville City. Brooklyn beats them the next week 3-0. I didn't think Brooklyn had 3 goals in them, but this Brooklyn team put together a defensive and an offensive effort. Was it good showing by Charleston? No. But on paper, Brooklyn should not have been competing with this team. They're a good enough team to be in competition with. Out in the West, Sacramento, I mean, they look great. El Paso, all gas, no brakes. Talk about that kind of idea. Rubio Rubin is going to score 30 goals before we're midway through. Like, he looks like a man possessed. Everything was. Now officially Wilmer Cabrera again. Now that he's in Charleston. He's the better version. He is the better version going out there right now. And it looks like they have sorted out some defensive issues. Will they give up a goal or 2 a game? Yeah, they'll also score 5. Who cares? It's good.
And that's crazy to look at, that you sit there and you see the balance that is there. But you mentioned Sporting.
Yeah.
I've got to throw Loudoun into this discussion just a little bit because they still have a goose egg. And I know, and I mean, we mentioned Monterey Bay and Loudoun right now 0-2-4 in their first 6. That, all they're doing, they seem to be drawing more than anything else right now after losing their first 2 of their first 3. What is it with Loudoun that you're seeing that they're just not able to get over the hump so far, even though they're the tail end of the second chase group?
I don't want to say as simple as apple teeth, apple cora, but it might be. They play really attractive soccer. It looks good. When they're flowing, it looks fantastic. They played Charleston in the Brinks Cup, and there were moments that they looked like the better team, the way that they passed throughout the field. They carved Charleston open. Then they finally get the shot where they had space, not on target. And that's kind of been their story all year long now. I think that Loudon, and I put this out on Blue Sky, I think, of Loudon is going to be my any for the rest of the year. I just know it. It just feels like any game now it's going to click. These passes are going to become shots on goal, right? And that's all it's going to take because Baudry in goal for them looks like a super stud. He looks fantastic. And when you think, how do you replace Hugo Faru? Get this guy. Yeah. He's been awesome. He's going to keep them in matches if they can just get shots on target and really force keepers to make save instead of just pushing it wide or getting into blocks, get block shots. I really think they can find themselves in the playoff race once again.
So if Loudon is your yellow light, basically as we play red light, yellow light, green light, go here for this month, if they are yellow going from red to green, we kind of talked about red lights. Is there a definitive red light, whether it's Monterey Bay or Jax or somebody who's a red light for you?
This one's hard this year. It really is. To me, I think it is going to come down to Monterey Bay, Sporting Jax.
Okay.
Even Brooklyn has shown me something. Do I think it's sustainable? No, but I think they could be competitive any game that they're in. Right. They could also get killed, but they have shown that they can be competitive. I mean, Monterey Bay has shown me that they can put together goals and get wins. Jacksonville's got to be nothing. Okay. I kind of have nothing with Jacksonville.
Okay.
So out in the West, I mean, I mentioned Monterey Bay. I'm looking at throughout the teams that have struggled out the gates, but I'm still talking myself into New Mexico, Las Vegas, Lexington, obviously, FC Tulsa. These are teams that have struggled out the gate, but you look at the paper and you like what you see. Out of those, if I'm doing a sneaky, whatever the color between orange, like a yellow and red, I guess that's orange, right? If
orange, yeah, you can do an orange light.
My orange light is New Mexico.
Okay.
Because I don't know if they've been able to replace Maples. And it seems like it's a bigger deal than they thought. They got Javang playing as a right back, says Sanchez, and he's a central defensive midfielder. And this isn't Indy 11. We're using Noble Okello as a striker, right, even though he's a central midfielder. He's looked competent. Also, it helps having a 6'5" striker. No one's ever complained about that.
No.
But it isn't working, and I don't see any signs that it's going to start working. But then I look at a Valentin Noel on this team, a Greg Erst. You look at some of the other players that they have brought in throughout the offseason. Reed Stevens, argument to be one of the best wingers in the league already. You can't help but talk yourself into it, but I have not seen anything that actually gives me hope. They are getting a dark orange light from me.
Okay. I want to get into League One before I ask you about the PA, and we wrap up for this week. We talk about how everything is bunched together, and you look at the teams that are in. I mean, Boise has kind of, they've kind of waddled their way into it. They're kind of catching their sea legs a little bit as the newborn colt, and they're in 5th. Then you go 6 through 16, so you're talking 11 teams right now. 11 teams in this league are separated by one win, basically. If you have a good week, if you've got a good midweek and you finish it with a good weekend, you could go from being, close, you could be 18th in a 17-team league and you could be in the playoff hunt. I mean, did you anticipate that this would be as even as it is right now through match week, either 4 or through 7 so far this season?
Yeah, I did, because when Alex Ashton, League One updater, as he's known on social media, when him and I talked preseason, we were talking about the teams that were outside the top 4 from, was that 5 to 17?
Yeah.
the gap between 5 and 17, we were doing season research. It was nothing.
Wow.
Even 17, Corpus Christi at the time, the only reason they were 17 is because they had they've only signed like 5 players at the time, but they have someone we talked about earlier on the show, Ayman Zayed. If there's anybody on this planet that I trust to work on a low budget and get the most out of nothing, it's Ayman Zayed.
You ain't kidding.
And so you're looking at that 5 through 17, you could talk yourself into any of those teams. Even that 1 through 4, which I'm trying to remember off the top of my head now, I'm pretty sure.
Naples, Knox, Spokane, and Omaha right now, separated by 2.
Right now, yes. At preseason, I was not a believer, and I said on the USL show, and I say it all the time, Naples is slapping me in the face, telling me to shove it because I was so wrong about them. I really thought that the losing of part of their center back pairing, Chris Eckenberg and Carson Linderlong, I thought losing that much down the spine would kill any team. I would have felt the same way about Union Omaha, to be fair. Yeah. Like, if you lose that good of a spine, it's not just one player. It wasn't just Linderlong. It was all the way down the spine. I just did not believe that anybody could replace that talent. And boy, did they prove me wrong. They have proved me so wrong. But preseason for me, it was going to be Portland. It was going to be Boise. It was going to be Omaha. And I can't remember who the 4th one was off the top of my head now. But they were all right there. And I've really enjoyed what I've seen so far. It's been super even. It's been super fun. And another team that shut me up, Knox. I thought they lost too much talent too.
Yeah.
I did.
I know.
And no, Ian Fuller's a genius, and I'm an idiot. And that's what this comes down to.
Plug and play. Before we get you out of here, we're still seeing the shows of solidarity around center circles. Before and during early parts of matches. Any clue where things stand right now with negotiations with the PA and the league?
If you read John Morrissey, USL Tactics article on Backfield, he just gave an update on the USL CBA, and he's been the one that's been getting a lot of the scoops and publicizing them.
Right.
So I'm going to echo some stuff that he said and some stuff that I've heard individually.
Go for it. Yeah.
What is coming down to there is this using images and likeness and basically just like not NIL, but essentially NIL, right?
Yeah.
For professionals, and the players want a bigger slice of the pie.
Understood.
They want to be able to use their image because, I mean, this is not the highest paying league. And so if they're going to be using them for promotion, they want to sustain themselves a little bit more.
Right.
According to John, they are kind of looping in the rest of the leagues right now. It's not just a championship. Bargaining is now Super League, soon to be Premier Division, Premier League, and League One. Okay. They're trying to make it one group thing, but that's really tricky because not every team and league has set that up at all.
Right. Yeah.
So that's causing a lot more rift. And I find it fascinating that they're trying to do that and have it be a championship negotiation.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if you are maybe a Detroit or maybe the, a team that is currently in championship or was in championship, or was in League One, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Cary, North Carolina, and you're working your way up to the Premier. If you're in one division, you want to set yourself up for the future, and that might be that's me extrapolating. Okay, if we're talking about something down the line that we're going to be a part of that doesn't quite exist yet, you've got to figure out those puzzle pieces and kind of anticipate the future, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think the thing is, and with the players in the league, they're fighting a multi-front war right now, where the Super League does not have its own CBA.
Right.
Granted, they've been from everything I hear, they've been very good about their minimum standards, and they've been doing a really good job of taking care of the players. So that's not a problem, but still don't have one. The first division has to be sorted out. They have to figure out details to it. And they have the championship this year, and next year League One's up. So there's so much like negotiating that championship can bring some up. And it's like, but we also need to figure out the first division minimum salary. We have to finish out the first division this, and then we can figure out the championship, because we can't start the first division at 60,000. This is me making up numbers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's say they're starting off minimum compensation for the first division at 60,000, but the championship players want to start at 80. Like that wage scale doesn't work, and so they have to sort out the top before they can sort out the middle.
Yeah.
And they're fighting a multi-facet war right now.
Yeah, it sounds like a complex compound sentence where if this, then this. Literally, yes. And that's so, well, and maybe that's how you settle it. Well, if you have one version of leagues happening, then we go this way, and then if we don't, then we go this way. So basically just come up with alternatives of one path, and then if the one path isn't going to happen, then you have this second path as the way to go. So maybe you need to have two sets of books, in that big glass conference table in the equally glass room, the hermetically sealed door, and all of the nice easy chairs. Come up with two sets of books and do an if then.
Yeah, one thing that from what I've heard from my sources on the matter, currently there have been agreements to the CBA that have been made that everybody seems to be pretty happy with. Like the health insurance seems like it's in a pretty solid spot right now. Of they're going to be offering, every team is mandatory required to give health insurance, and it'll be the same thing that front office employees will get.
Right. So
players, front office will be treated equal in that sense. That seems like it's pretty firmly in there at this point. Something else that has been loosely agreed on at this point is that at the end of next year, 12-month contracts will be official, which is, when it coincides with the beginning of Premier Division.
Yep.
And it seems like those seem pretty in step. They seem solid. I mean, there have been concessions made, and it seems like there is progress. But even so, we're seeing players lock arm in arm in the Prinks Cup. Every single championship team covered up the championship patch on their jersey. They got a white armband and covered up the championship patch. The League One players did not do that, obviously. And so there's been more and more of these protests. And I am getting to the point just me as Kaylor. I'm not talking as a player, obviously.
Right.
How many more protests can you do until you just do it?
Yeah.
How many more protests do you have until you walk off the field?
Yeah.
In which I think the answer to it is there's going to be teams that are in first place. There are players that are going to be in first place that get treated well by their organization, that they know we're treated right here. We have good train facilities. They give us good food. We stay in good hotels. I make good money here, and we're in first place. I'm not walking off this field.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get somebody in last place, so they know they're out of it. Then maybe they aren't treated amazingly. And they're saying, dude, I do not care. And so who is the Player Association going to side with? Are they going to side with the more impactful teams, the ones that are in first? Or are they going to side with the teams that have, or the players that have nothing to lose at this point? I am fascinated by what their decision's going to be. They can call a strike at any time. They've already voted on that. Yeah. They voted that they can do it. Will the players do it? At this point, you're running out of protest. You're running out of things you can do.
Yeah, you're already in season, and you're getting to the point where wins and losses are getting figured out, and you're figuring out money on the line in a cup about a tire that we've never seen. And so you have a competition involving these leagues where there's money at the end of the rainbow, and then you have two leagues. You have a league going on right now where you're pretty tightly packed together. You've got a bunch of folks chasing after titles, and you're going to be on television, and you can sit there and, prove your wares to a national/international audience, depending on if you're on Parabros or the four-letter network or wherever. So I think that this is obviously something that, we're going to keep talking about it. We'll see where it continues to develop. You know that you have a break glass opportunity. You know where the axe is to break glass, and tapping in to get the fire extinguisher at any moment. What's going on with the USL show?
Got more live shows coming out. Kids season is doing their thing. They're having a blast. They've given away 2-3 kits now that if you want free jerseys, including one I think they just gave away from Charleston Battery, get in there to kid season. They're doing awesome work over there. Lots of interviews. The USL show keeps chugging along. And about a month ago-ish, now we released a video of our trip up to Asheville when they played.
There you go. Oh, there it is.
So a lot of work went into that one. It was a ton of fun, and I had an absolute blast recording everything. So go check it out. At the very least, I got a really cool video of a sunset in the mountains. So I think it's worth watching for that alone.
Yep, and catching up with our buddy Scott Wells and seeing what's going on there, what he does with Asheville City. If you would please, sir, cut the promo. Where do folks need to go?
At the USL show, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, and on YouTube. And everything that we post gets uploaded to podcast players. Find your favorite one and listen to us there.
What he said. Kaylor Hodges getting ready for the High Tam the roster edition coming up. But when is the roster edition officially?
Mid-October.
We're in the middle of the postseason too.
Right in the middle of the postseason, right in the middle of football season. Everything's great, but we're excited to have Mason joining Hodges FC.
Yes, absolutely true. It's a great roster addition. We'll catch up with you soon, my friend, and let us know if there's anything that you need to bash the door down to let us know about. It's always great to see you. And there's Kaylor, and that is the rundown of everything USL over the last 30 days. And the reason that I always will preface conversations with Kaylor about breaking glass is because of what is or isn't going on with the collective bargaining agreement negotiations. So basically, that's a bookmark that's attached in there. And if anything happens, then obviously he can come back in and discuss things at any time. Scheduling update, Philip Thomas, head coach at River Ridge, has to be pushed back to tomorrow because homeroom schedules got shifted at River Ridge today. And so he is now back in homeroom where initially he was not. And so we'll catch up with Coach Thomas on a game day before he hops into various buses and heads down to McIntosh for our game tomorrow night. On air on the network slightly before 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock kick. And we will let you know what's going on between two blue bloods in Georgia high school soccer. River Ridge and McIntosh, 7 o'clock here on the network at soccerdownhere.net. Hit the listen tab, and you'll see which channel is up and running, either SDH 1 or 2. And then you can see where the big red live button is going, and then you hit that button, and then you get to listen to whatever the content is, live games, appearances, everything that is there at soccerdownhere.net and on the listen tab. So this means that the last half hour is us. That's what, Dell, apparently kit season is, I think it is, I'm trying to figure out if it is a show or if it is part of their kit _season on Instagram. So Instagram and search kit _season. So kit _season. So as I do that, kit SZN. Two dudes rating kits. Okay, so we'll follow them. All right. So pick your kit of choice, Charleston Battery. Okay. Lorain County Leviathan FC. Wow, that's okay. So they're looking at like logos and stuff and everything. Okay. And so they are kit _SZN kit season. Two dudes rating kits from the biggest league in the world. Proud partner of the USL show. Thursdays at 9 on the YouTubes. So that's kit season. So that's a new partner with the USL show and all of their kits. So All right, so let's go all the way back to the beginning and kind of work our way through the show here now that we have a chance to kind of catch our breath a little bit. So tonight, Star 94, 94.1 FM. So Star 94 and the Odyssey app, that is where you are going to have Atlanta United and Charlotte FC. And so you heard from Will Palaszczuk, play-by-play voice for Charlotte, is that he is not anticipating it going to be a first choice of first choice for Charlotte tonight because of injuries and such, schedule compression and what have you, because they have the matchup this weekend in New England that they have to look at as well, and also coming off of the matchup with Nashville this past weekend. So coming out of Nashville, you're at Open Cup at Matthews, and then you're heading to New England on the weekend. So you're in your bit of schedule compression at the moment. So that is what he's anticipating when it comes to personnel, lineups, and what have you. So if you end up seeing some folks that are folks that you know from Crown Legacy, like Rodolfo Aloco as an example, do not be surprised. For Atlanta United, the injuries are still the same. The injury report is still the same, if I remember correctly. Availability report, Miggy, Alzate, Sergio Santos, and Cayman is the only addition. Cayman is out. So Miggy with the knee, Alzate with the adductor, Sergio Santos with the calf, and Togashi with the ankle. So that means that you're going to have probably means, let's put it that way, probably means that Latte Lot gets the start up top. And since you're this close in a trophy chase, probably going to have something akin to first choice. So we'll see what it looks like with the first choice-ish lineup for both teams tonight. It is not the only activity going on tonight. You actually do have, in addition to it, you do have the beginnings of the CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza in the semifinals. You have at 8:30 at Geodis, it is Nashville and Tigres. Tigres saying goodbye to Gignac on the weekend. They're thinking that it is probably his last home match. So Gignac got the send-off in the 10th. He got the celebration in the 10th minute. Fantastic scenes at Tigres' home. And then he was pulled in the 56th minute. And so the 40-year-old striker might be it. He has not had a contract extension / renewal, and it is set to expire at the end of this season. There is a discussion in some circles that Gignac will sign a 6-month deal, go through the end of the calendar year, and then he'll get bumped to a suit and tie role upstairs. Don't know that quite yet. So that is at 8:30. Late game tonight in the round of 16 in Open Cup is San Jose hosting Minnesota. That's at PayPal Park. That's at 10 o'clock. And that is on Golazo Network and Paramount Plus. Charlotte and Atlanta is on CBS Sports Network. That one, once again, is from Matthews, and that one right after 7 o'clock. So getting into, since we're here, since we've been discussing what's going on, we'll go ahead and do what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it from our friends at Fanatiz, ftz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. Helps them, helps us, and helps you. By adding more matches to everything you're already watching with Fanatiz, you get BN, you get all the BNs. Home of AFCON, TEC, you get matches from Argentina, leagues from South America, all in one place, A and B leagues. You get TVV for Venezuela, CDO from Chile, Liga 1 Max Pro from Peru. You get the Turkish League, the French League, and the Polish League with the BNs, but you also get you get CAF, you get AFCON Champions League, and all of that with all the BNs that you have. Copa Argentina is there through TEC with the great Argentinian programming that they have covering the Argentine game. That's there too. Now, today, Libertadores, 6, 8:30, and 10 on BN. Lanús and Liga de Quito. Cruzeiro, Boca Juniors, Sporting Cristal, and Junior. So you have Boca Juniors and Junior back-to-back. CONCACAF Champions Cup, the Hemispheric Extravaganza is at 8:30. FS2 has the league we don't talk about, being in Espanol, simulcasting Libertadores. Fox Deportes is also broadcasting the league we don't talk about. Champions League, PSG and Bayern Munich. That is today, 3 o'clock. 2 to NA also simulcasting CONCACAF. Univision is simulcasting Champions League. Golazo Network has San Jose and Minnesota. Fox ONE, the league we don't talk about. And CONCACAF Paramount Plus has both Open Cup matches and PSG and Bayern once again at 3 o'clock. And so Libertadores is big the next couple of days. That's going to be on BN. And so that is today. That's what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it by our friends at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Now, getting into the other stories that we were kind of getting into. So, talked about Charlotte, Star 94, a little before 7 o'clock. No real pregame, 7:03 kick, I believe. Then you might have a bit of a wrap-up with Mike and Jason, and then final whistle will be up at soccerdownhere.net shortly after the game is over. And then it'll be quick wrap-up show tonight. Final whistle up at soccerdownhere.net. We'll talk about it tomorrow. We'll have highlights and posts and all the things. So that gets us to the Sportico evaluations. And this was what interested me in this whole thing, and that was why, I mean, we have Kurt on to talk about it. But you have Real Madrid at $7.7 billion on revenue of $1.3 billion. Barca at $6.65 billion, ranked number 2 on revenue of $1.088. I'd love to know how much of that is debt service. Manchester United, number 3, with all of their problems, $6.47 billion on revenue of $878. They're the top-ranked EPL club. Bayern, Liverpool, Manchester City. Liverpool, because of their deep run, had more revenue than Manchester United or Manchester City, not by much. Arsenal, PSG, Chelsea, Spurs. If Spurs gets relegated, oh, doctor. You want to talk about somebody that's going to plummet out of the top 10? Spurs right now listed as a value of $3.5 billion on revenue last year of $743. Puts them at number 10. If they get relegated, Atleti, Dortmund, that's $2 billion and higher. Get you to 13 in Juve. AC Milan, Inter Milan, don't think that isn't a sore point of contention. Inter Miami first at 16. LAFC, and once again, we talked to Kurt Badenhausen about tapping into markets and untapped fan bases. LAFC at 17, LAG at 18, Atlanta United 19, $1.14 billion in value on revenue of $117 million. NYCFC is at 20. They had $87 million in revenue. Of course, they're also building a new stadium. Villa's at 21, Newcastle at 22, Everton's at 23. Top 23 clubs, $1 billion or more in value. Then you get into the rest of Major League Soccer. Seattle at 24, Austin at 25. Literally, Austin at 25 at $910 million blew me away. $910 million value for Austin FC, and they're ranked at 25. And so that means that they are the 7th highest valued franchise in Major League Soccer. So Anthony Precourt, I guess, knew what he was doing. Number 7 in value is Austin. West Ham is valued at 26. So they're at $895 million on revenue of $300. What happens if they get relegated? Somebody's value next season is going to plummet. Brighton's at 28. We got news on them coming up in a sec. Crew at 29. Cincinnati at 30. San Diego new at 33. Charlotte 34. DC, Portland, Philly get you to 37. Toronto FC's tied at 39th with Fulham. Chicago Fire 45. Sporting Kansas City at 46. St. Louis City tied at 49th at $675 million on revenue of 82. So that's what you're looking at with the 16 Major League Soccer franchises that are in the top 50. And there are some in there, like I said, there are some that were stunners. The Austin, number 7 in value in Major League Soccer at $910 million. That to me was crazy. But I guess it has to do with your own barn, real estate, Texas, growing market, all those things. When it comes to Austin. It's Austin at number 7. That is crazy. It's crazy to me. I mentioned Brighton at 28 for a reason. Because you end up with news out of Brighton this morning that they are going to construct as they have confirmed plans this morning, the UK and Europe's first purpose-built women's football stadium, literally next door to the Amex. One of 3 such stadia in the world. And literally, it is a 10,000-seat capacity stadium built next to the Amex, subject to planning permission. Stadium specifically built for that club will provide bespoke facilities for Brighton's women's team, staff, and the supporters. Major milestone in the club's 2030 vision, and underlines the board's intent and belief in the women's and girls' game, supported once again by Tony Bloom. Work has begun on a planning application for the new women's stadium located at Bennett's Field, a site strategically acquired during 25. Location immediately adjacent to the Amex. So you get linkage between the two venues, opportunity for the club to use a range of facilities across both men's and women's match days. Designed with a minimum capacity of 10,000, physically connected to the Amex via a new bridge link, Bennett's Field will allow the stadium to accommodate underground parking, still providing level access for spectators. Club's ambition is for the stadium to open no later than the 30-31 season, subject to planning approvals, which will be sought through the neighboring authorities of Brighton and Hove City Council and Lewes District Council. Gives the women's team a home that reflects level of support and ambition. Quote from Zoe Johnson, the managing director on the women's side. Club admits that there has already been significant progress on design work for the women's stadium. There are images that are out. And so, quote from Tony Bloom, quote from other folks. And so there you go. So Brighton is in the process of building an adjacent 10,000-seat minimum stadium next to the Amex for their women's team. So that word has come out today. Specifically, Brighton is, they have titled it "Built for Her." So that is that's what you're looking at when it comes to Brighton and their news of the morning. And so I've written down a bunch of other things here. Okay, so we got to get into Vancouver. And first and foremost, once again, the biggest thing is the statement that the Whitecaps came out with last night, where they said, and this is them in their quotations. This is their quotation mark. Statement issued came out during soccer over there last night. And we'll go back and reference the reporting here in a second. Aware of today's reporting, club has faced well-documented structural challenges around stadium economics, venue access, and revenue limitations that have made it difficult to attract buyers committed to keeping the team in Vancouver. Over the past 16 months, we've had serious conversations with more than 100 parties, and to date, no viable offer has emerged that would keep the club here. Paragraph. It remains the strong preference of this ownership group to find a solution in Vancouver. If there is a local ownership group with the vision and resources to chart a path forward, we urge them to come forward. That was the statement from Vancouver and the Whitecaps ownership group last night. Literally, that was their statement. So when you have that come to the fore, that's really not good news. And that's not something that you really want to hear if you are anyone associated with the Vancouver situation. Tenorio and Bogert last night during SOT, special committee of MLS owners met earlier in the month to discuss and evaluate Vancouver Whitecaps' future. Move to Vegas was the chief option discussed at the meeting, according to the sources who spoke on condition of anonymity because they weren't authorized to comment publicly. MLS has had discussions with a group looking to bring a team to the market. And then I mentioned earlier in the show the Star with 2 R's Vegas development plan with the 50,000-seat soccer stadium. That is not who Major League Soccer has engaged with. Indy, Phoenix, Sacramento, Vegas. A club in Major League Soccer has not been formally reloaded since 2006 when San Jose moved to Houston, became the Dynamo. In 2008, San Jose got another Phoenix club and kept the Quakes' history. Whitecaps continuing to work on an in-market solution for a new stadium. Lease with BC Place expires at the end of this year. And so Major League Soccer has come forward, and they have apparently had this meeting. Any reload would have to be approved by MLS owners with a purchase price and reload fee agreed upon. San Diego paid a $500 million expansion fee. Sources expect a reload fee to be added onto any sale price so that the overall package for an incoming group would be north of that previous $500 million figure. Axel Schuster told The Guardian last week, we're not sitting here waiting. We believe in finding solutions. One day, it might not be this year or next year. We might be done with these solutions ABC all the way through. We'll go through the alphabet. But one day, and it might not be this year or next year, we might be done with the alphabet, and maybe we'll have to look at other options. Last December, you'll remember we talked about the MOU the Whitecaps signed with the city to enter an exclusive negotiation period through 2026 to explore a new stadium and entertainment district at Hastings Park. No update since. And so right now, Vancouver, with what they are doing on the field, is having to deal with the issue that has not changed in the last 16 months. A new owner. So that's where things are right now with Vancouver. Not all that optimistic. Especially when the team puts out a statement saying, hey, if you're interested, we'd love to hear from you. If they've had 100 conversations and nothing is stuck, then you're looking at right now, you are looking at I would use the word interesting, but it's disappointing. Yes, I accept all the cookies. Get out of my way. Where's the BC section? There we go, BC. Okay, so let's see if our friends at Global have anything going on. Let's see. Gemma Karsten Smith from the CP, the Canadian Press. Dan Courtemanche was asked about it, and he gave a statement last night. Remain focused on supporting the club and identifying a sustainable long-term solution, and our preference is to find a path that allows the Whitecaps to continue to grow and succeed in Vancouver. Paragraph. At the same time, we have a responsibility to ensure the long-term health of the league and its clubs. We will evaluate all options, including interest that has been expressed in the clubs from other markets and investor groups, end quote. Dan quoted again, the Whitecaps ownership group has played a significant role in growing the game in Vancouver across Canada. However, stadium economics, scheduling restrictions, and a lack of government and corporate support have created an ongoing structural challenges that make it difficult to establish a viable path forward for the club. And we mentioned the Whitecaps issuing the statement. Current ownership group, including Greg Kerfoot, Steve Luzo, Jeff Mallett, and Steve Nash. December 24, they announced they were for sale. Priority was keeping them in Vancouver. Asking price was not publicly released. And so, sold out crowd of 27,589 saw Vancouver knock off Colorado back on Saturday. A lot of signs. You had the Save the Cap signs and all of that. And so, I'm scanning the article from CP. Despite the on-field successes, Whitecaps still sit at the bottom of the league in team revenue, trailing clubs in the middle of the standings by $40 million US, according to Axel Schuster back in February. You remember the MOU back in Vancouver, building a stadium on the city's eastern edge, then agreed to that new one-year deal with the Crown Corporation that operates BC Place. And then there were some revenue boosters that were given by the folks that own and operate BC Place. I think it was an extra $3 million, I think, that was sent the way of Vancouver. Kerfoot bought the club back in 2002 when it was USL First Division, joined by the rest of the group in 2008, and then played their first season in Major League Soccer back in 2011. So that's where Vancouver is and the Whitecaps are right now. Let's see if CTV has anything different. Front page, Kevin Sherrick, trying to see if there's anything else. Everything keeps circling back to the article involving the Athletic. That was $1.5 million in Canadian dollars. Game day profit from the province. Monday evening saw more than 5,000 people adding their names to the Sign the Wall section of the Save the Caps website. And so that's where things are right now with Vancouver. Not looking good. And Derek, you're right. It would be tragic because of everything that you've invested and built and what the team has been on the field. To have them go through this right now, it is profoundly disappointing. It is profoundly disappointing. Another quick piece of breaking news. Let me see if I can find said article, and then I will be able to let you know about it. Well, I mean, and Dell wanting to know if they could just sell shares of the ownership to the fans. That would be an interesting thing. But interesting piece of news coming out of the city this morning. Atlanta Football Club. And I guess since it is breaking news, since it came out at 28 minutes ago, I'll go ahead and give it this treatment. We'll go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead, and if I could find the there we go. I finally found the breaking news sounder. Atlanta FC is now on the board and co-founded by Carlos Bocanegra, announcing their official launch, introducing, and this is from the release, a new approach to youth soccer development centered on structure, consistency, and individualized coaching. Atlanta FC initially is going to field one team per age group, U8 through U13, each led by a dedicated coach, competing against the Atlanta metro area teams as well as in local competitive tournaments. Limited teams for each age group and the one team per coach model designed to ensure consistent coaching, clear development pathways, meaningful attention for every player, and intentional departure from traditional youth soccer models. Quoting Carlos, the technical director for Atlanta FC, vision is to change the culture of youth soccer in America by creating a more deliberate athlete-first environment for player development. Too often in youth soccer, players are forgotten about, late developers can be pushed aside, families don't have a clear understanding of how their child is progressing. We're building a unique environment at Atlanta FC where ambitious athletes receive consistent coaching, real attention to detail, and a clear path. This club reflects everything I believe youth development should be, end quote. So Atlanta FC's model, one coach, one team, limited teams per age group, starting with just one, maintaining quality control and individual attention, unified methodology, regular player feedback, development tracking, giving families visibility into progress, shared training plans and communication with families, integrated assistant coaches and staff, supporting session quality player development, and a dedicated keeper coach at the club. Created with a recognition, development doesn't happen in isolation. The release continues. Club emphasizing transparency and communication with families, providing a clearer understanding of how players are progressing and what is expected at each stage. Families stay connected through shared training plans, post-game insights, regular progress updates, and full cost transparency. Atlanta FC delivering a top-tier academy experience with exceptional value. Respect, commitment, teamwork, and courage, the 4 core values. Principles guiding how the club trains, competes, and supports the athletes, ensuring development extends beyond the field into character, leadership, and personal growth. AtlantaFootballClub.com. Eligible age groups U18 through U13, and the tryouts are May 18 through 20, and it's going to be at Oglethorpe. So it is Oglethorpe University is going to have the Atlanta FC tryouts May 18 through 20, and it is a new venture with Carlos Bocanegra, Atlanta FC, player development model in youth soccer. 1 team per coach model, development first approach for athletes and families. So Carlos is up and running. And, of course, Dell doing fantastic work. Apparently, we now have the Season 4 trailer out for Ted Lasso. All right, so what I'm going to do is let's see, where did Dell find it? Discussing film. Okay, so I'm going to play it, or at least I'm going to look at it in mute. So Roy and Keeley are involved. Keeley's looking stylish. So it's a minute. And it's about the women's club. And so you got Tracy Ullman is attached. And so it is about the women's team at AFC Wimbledon. And looks like some of the same folks still live in Wimbledon. And it is an opportunity. Okay, so Rebecca is still seeing the pilot. Tracy Ullman, very involved. May is there. Keeley is there. And so Rebecca is still happy with the pilot. August 5th. Yeah, Keeley was wearing the KC hat. I saw that, but that looked like KC Monarchs. It did not look like it was a sporting Kansas City hat. Although I did like the inside joke. It literally looked like a KC Monarchs hat. Looks like she went baseball. Okay, so the first trailer's out for Ted Lasso, and now the countdown begins. Oh, help us all. I need more trailers. I need more stuff. But Carlos Bocanegra in the launching Atlanta Football Club. New approach to youth soccer. So we will be efforting Carlos to discuss things involving Atlanta FC and what he thinks about what else is going on. So, all right. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. What to watch, and we got into what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it before we got out of here. So, Carlos Bocanegra and our buddy Ben Jacobs have been very, very busy today as well. So, let's get you into what is, fixture pileup. We got to talk about that before we get out of here. John Stones is leaving Manchester City in the summer. No real surprise. And the NWSL board has postponed the calendar flip vote. We talked about that yesterday, so we'll see how long that stays on the docket. Beginning of the semifinals today in Champions League. And where? Do we have any gossip, rumor, and innuendo today? Do we have any? Surely we have gossip, rumor, and innuendo today. Oh, here we go. I just went zooming past it because we'd already talked about Jose Mourinho. Xabi Alonso, one of 3 managers Chelsea's keen to hold talks with to replace Liam Rosenior, according to the 3-letter paper. Fulham's Marco Silva and Andoni Iraola reported to be the other 2. Alonso unemployed after sacked at Real Madrid in January. Iraola leaving Bournemouth this summer. Silva could be a free agent end of the year, yet to sign a new deal with Fulham. Arsenal watching the situation of Galatasaray striker Victor Osimhen, according to Diario AS. Arsenal sending sporting director Andrea Berta to scout several players last weekend at Galatasaray and Fenerbahce. Oh, that must have been a good watch. Osimhen has 20 goals in 31 matches, all comps. Winger Baris Alper Yilmaz and keeper Ugurkan Shakir also reported to be on the Premier League club's radar. Real Madrid, Barca, Liverpool, United, Chelsea, among the teams keen on sporting defender Gonzalo Inacio, according to Gazzetta dello Sport. Reportedly on several short lists this summer, Liga Portugal side preparing to part ways due to the €60 million release clause in the contract, 42 appearances for Sporting, expected to start for Portugal in the World Cup. Liverpool could miss out on Yan Diomande. And go back into Jason's timeline. He's got a great story about Yan Diomande. According to Christian Falk, reported the Bundesliga club planning to hand him a new contract in the summer that would increase his salary, also adding a release clause with the belief he could stay put for 1 more year. Diomande has 19 goal contributions in 30 league matches, linked to Anfield as a potential replacement for Mo Salah. Robert Lewandowski in talks with both Juve and AC Milan, according to Diario Sport. Set to make a decision on his future in the next few days, expected to sign an extension with Barca. If a move to either Serie A club does not materialize, no interest in making a switch to MLS or the league we don't talk about. Barca have made contact with Atleti regarding a deal forward and deal for forward Julian Alvarez, seen as Lewandowski's potential long-term replacement. Everton interested in Azad Alkmaar and Ireland international striker Troy Parrott. That's from Team Talk. Liam Delap keen to stay at Chelsea to fight for his place. That's from the Telegraph. Gazzetta. Inter Milan preparing to exercise the clause to sign midfielder Alexander Stankovic from Club Bruges. Newcastle open to parting ways with Johan Vissa less than 12 months after he joined the club from Brentford. 4 games? Chris Waugh updated it very, very early this morning. Protracted pursuit from Brentford. Long-term deal. He says he wants to stay. Vissa was not the priority target to replace Callum Wilson, but since they couldn't get Joao Pedro, Ekitike, or Jurgen Strand-Larsen, Newcastle met Brentford's take it or leave it. 24 appearances, starting only 1 of the last 16. Lack of preseason and a knee injury pickup before his first training session, hampering his acclimatization. Vissa returned from the knee injury quicker than expected, decided not to represent DR Congo at AFCON so he could focus on being fit for Newcastle and the World Cup playoff against Jamaica in March. Now Newcastle's looking to move Vissa in the summer window, even if they do it at a loss. Athletic reported in September the deal included a 25% sell-on clause. What if Brentford went back and got him? It'd be a sell-on clause to themselves. Vissa's late arrival in the window, direct response to Isak's sale to Liverpool, when Newcastle didn't have a CEO or a sporting director. Now looking to overhaul the squad. Eddie Howe recently acknowledged that Vissa had endured a, quote, very difficult season, end quote, in his first year on Tyneside. Optimistic, though, that he could still contribute with the right preparation. So Vissa, $55 million, and Newcastle's probably going to try and find a way to write it off. Morgan Gibbs-White at Forest could leave in the summer. Multiple clubs are circling for his signature from Football Insider. AC Milan set to step up their interest in Lazio defender Mario Gila. Gazzetta. Team Talk. Spurs pondering a move for Rangers right back James Tavernier. Don't go. Nicola Schira. Internazionale are in talks with Federico Di Marco regarding a new deal. Calcio Mercato. AC Milan want to part ways with left back Pervis Estupiñán. Former Al-Ettifaq manager Steven Gerrard is on the radar of Bristol City, who are set to part ways with Roy Hodgson at the end of the year. That is from our friends at The Independent. So that is the rundown for today. So Donis did get appointed officially, according to Dell, who I think will be playing tonight for Atlanta. My guess is It's going to be all right. So Dell wants to know about tonight. So if we look at tonight, and then again, you've got a home game with Montreal on the weekend. So if we go back and look, and by the way, the picks of the week are in the Discord. If you go back and look at what happened in Toronto, look at it this way. Look at it like 60, 30, 60. Then Charlotte, Montreal, because then you get a week before LAG comes to town. So the lineup for Atlanta United in Toronto. Hoyos in net, you figure it might be Jaden Hibbert. Baez, Barakal, Gregerson, Matt Edwards. I could see an AME High getting the start on Tuesday and on Saturday. Keep an eye out on Ronald Hernandez. Because Matt Edwards in Toronto gave you the full 90. So it might be Ronald Hernandez at the back. Might be some combination of Baez or Amador, Mihai, Ronald Hernandez, and possibly Tomas Jacob giving you limited minutes to come back from injury. He was not on the injury report. So you had Tristan. My guess is you probably are going to have Fafa start, have Latte Lot start. Alexi will start. Cooper Sanchez may start or give you minutes. Jay Fortune gave you the full 90. Will Riley probably gets a start. Galarza probably starts. Maybe Saba starts as well. So my guess is it's probably Saba and Luke on the left, Latte Lot in the middle, Alexi on the right. Now, this is just without any – this is me thinking about minutes and schedule compression and what this match means. Maybe you see Amador, one of the two center backs being Mihai, maybe Tomas Jacob or Ronald Hernandez at the back. Tristan, Tristan will want to go out there and be out there all night. You'll have Galarza out there. Will Riley gave you a cup of coffee. Fafa Pico is probably going to be Fafa Pico starting and Luke Brennan coming in. So it could be in somewhat flux, but my guess is it's going to be some combination of that. But you've got to keep an eye out on minutes that happen on the weekend, minutes tonight, and minutes for Montreal. Because once again, remember, you probably get to sleep in on Sunday morning. Right. Almiron, Alzate, Santos, Togashi. Out. So I could see Galarza starting, Will Riley starting, Tristan starting, Alexi, Latte Lot. Then what do you do on the left? It's probably maybe Fafa Saba or Fafa Luke, and then Saba comes in to help out up top at some point. So midfield probably Will, Galarza, and Tristan. Backline, Amador, maybe Jacob, maybe Ronald. Mihai is one of your center backs. So, like I said, keep an eye. Take the minutes from the weekend, apply them to tonight, and then apply them to Montreal at home on Saturday across the board. So that's kind of where I'm thinking that it's going to look like. But without Kamen, you've got to go Latte Lot up top, I think. And then you've got Saba to come in to help out off the bench. But I think it's going to be Fafa and Luke. Alexi, Saba helps out up top. Latte Lot gets the start. Galarza, Tristan, Will. Jaden in net, maybe. Jaden has been the one with Open Cup for you. So if you keep your Open Cup keeper, it's Jaden to give Lucas Hoyos a bit of a break. Then backline, Pedro, Mihai, Jacob, and Ronald, maybe. Like I said, I don't know what the health is of Tomas Jacob. But it's in Matthews because the bank, you wouldn't be getting 30,000. And this would be a crowd more befitting of a Matthews-sized venue. You're not going to be you'd have a lot of empty seats, and they've played at Matthews in the tournament. So until you get to like a semifinal or something, if you're still in it at that point, then I would move it to the bank. But right now, Matthews would be the place to play, place that fits the crowd and the interest, frankly. And so you're going to a grass surface, and that's why I asked Will Palaszczuk about specifically if it was like playing in a phone booth or if it was a normal surface by comparison to being at Bank of America. So, and if someone could help out Dell to get him into the Discord, that would be fantastic. So Saudi Arabia has officially appointed Georgios Donis, and he replaces Hervé Renard and his button down all the way down to the fourth button. So, like I said, those who didn't play on Saturday, keep an eye on them playing tonight. Saba, Mihai, Amador, Ronald, Hibbert. Galarza only played 13. Riley only played 13. Fafa gave you 30. Luke gave you 60. So that's why I think that gets reversed. So keep an eye on who didn't play on Saturday to play tonight to get you ready for Saturday with CF Montreal. I'm going to say hi to everybody because we got to come back for the high school show in 45 minutes. Okay. All right, so let's say hi to everybody who made it in, and then we'll do high school. It'll be a quick bracket breakdown at noon on Red Clay Tuesday to get you ready for round number 1 tonight. Weather being dicey. If you're going, go prepared and be ready for delays. And we'll let you know if any matches are postponed on our social media tonight and get you ready for tomorrow. But the short answer, Dell, is that right now the crowds that you would be getting for Open Cup would be more fitting for Matthews than they would be for Bank of America. And Alex, I'm with you. Alex says, I don't think you can or should rest anyone. Have to go for it tonight, and then you rotate for Montreal. But you will have Latte Lot up top, considering that you did not have Togashi after the 25th minute. So your starting lineup, Baez, Barakal, Gregerson, Edwards. Tristan, they listed as the lone 6 in a 4-1-4-1 on SofaScore, which was not entirely correct. Then you had Cooper helping him out. Then it was Luke, Jay, Alexi, and then Latte Lot coming in for Kamen, who is out with the ankle. No official word on the injury after the looky Loo from the physios on Sunday after they came back from Toronto. Latte Lot came in, gave you 63, coming in for Togashi. Fafa came in the 60th for Luke. That's why I think that might be reversed. Will Riley gave you 13. Galarza gave you 13. So starting lineup, you're in the round of 16. I'm interested to see what rotation looks like, if any, from Saturday, but I'm looking at Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. So hi, Dell. Hi, Wiley. Hi, Alex. And let's see. Morning, Derek. Morning, David. Let's see. So David and Derek and Memphis. If Memphis were to ever do anything expansion-wise, they would need their own barn. They can't keep going to AutoZone. They can't keep doing it in their own place. Let's see. So Alex and Abby. And let's see. Who else am I missing here? Alex and Abby and Dell and Michael Head. Good morning. And let's see. Dell and Abby and Dell and let's see here. Who am I missing? Like I said, I'm just scrolling backward to see who's popped into the Twitch pitch. But thanks to everybody who keeps coming in and comes in and visits with us every morning. So David and Abby and Ricky. And good morning to all of you. So there you go. That's a show. We'll come back in 40 minutes talking exclusively high school. It'll be a bracket breakdown of everything in all of the brackets going on today. We'll set up tomorrow. Tomorrow on the show, it looks like on Red Clay Wednesday, it's going to be a visit with Bunky Colvin, Brian Messner, and that's going to be at 12:30 for McIntosh. And it looks like we might be joined by Brooks County at noon. because they've had a great season in single A in both boys and girls. And they're on the bus right now heading to their matchup today. So wishing them the safest travels, wishing everybody safe travels today, because it's crappy out there and it's going to get worse. So tomorrow, Dylan Butler said to join us at 10. Philip Thomas sent his apologies because of homeroom switching. He'll be joining us at 10:45 to talk about River Ridge and McIntosh. Hour number 1, we'll go over what happened in Open Cup. We'll go over what happened in the first leg of the CONCACAF semifinal with Nashville and their fun at Geodis. I'll be interested to see what the crowd is there. And then your late night Open Cupper with Minnesota United at San Jose. So we're going to be back in 40 minutes, and we'll talk high school. So thanks to everybody who's hanging out with us on the Twitch pitch. Thanks to Will Palaszczuk, play-by-play voice in Charlotte. Thanks to Kurt Badenhausen at Sportico, going over a bunch of rather large numbers. Thanks to Kaylor Hodges at the USL show, and thanks to all of y'all as always. See you in 40 minutes for the Red Clay Soccer Tuesday, brought to us by our friends at Kaiser Permanente, right there. We couldn't do anything without them here on the SDH network. So since it is the end of the show, back at it again in 40 minutes, it means I get to do this. Mucha Platiel, play it safe. See you at noon.